Onimusha, Way of the Sword, will be the cure for Souls-like fatigue. At least for me it sure will, because I don't know about the rest of you, but it's been 15 goddamn years since Demon Souls and Dark Souls kind of reshaped, kind of totally changed the gaming landscape when it comes to any video game involving a sword. Any video game involving a dude with a blade, or a chick with a blade, or anything else with a blade. And I'm kind of burnt out. It's been 15 years, and you look at Onimusha, and it's got no stamina bars. As far as I can tell, no stamina bar, no obtuse, lore-driven storytelling, where every character sounds like they're on Ambien. There's no bonfire-style checkpoints that are probably going to be like, you know, hours apart like they are in Souls-likes. As far as we can tell, from the trailer we saw, especially at Summer's Games Fest, from the trailer I saw, there doesn't seem to be any Souls-like elements in this game. And according to the developers, that's not what they're aiming for. This is a true blue Onimusha game. When this game was first announced and they first teased it, everybody was saying that. Everybody was like, ooh, I bet it's going to be a Souls-like. I bet it's going to be an Onimusha Souls-like. They're going to turn Onimusha into a Souls-like. No, damn it. No. You were all wrong. You were all wrong. Okay? You're wrong. This is Onimusha. This ain't Dark Souls. This ain't Dark Souls, damn it. This ain't Liza P. This ain't Berserker. This ain't any of that shit, alright? This is none of that. This ain't Hollow Knight. This ain't nothing. This is not another Souls-like ripoff. Because this is Capcom, and they don't follow trends, damn it. They don't rip off other people's success. They make their own. They do things the Capcom way. And goddamn it, I couldn't be more grateful for it, because Onimusha Way of the Sword looks fantastic. It looks so good. It looks like a nice throwback to, like, you know, that pre-Dark Souls era, that early 2000s, late 90s, you know, action-adventure, slice-em-up games, you know, where you'd be rewarded with, like, a boss at the end of a nice action-packed linear level, and a cool cutscene where characters are doing cool shit and saying cool shit. Everybody sounds cool in this trailer. Everybody sounds so cool. I'm so used to, like, especially like all these samurai games now, as much as I love Ghost of Tsushima or Rise of the Ronin or whatever, or Neo, everybody in these games now, they all sound so stoic and nonchalant, and everybody just sounds so reserved. Onimusha, you know, it's a series with very quirky, over-the-top characters, and Way of the Sword, man, they just, it has all of that, man. Like, Musashi, the main character, is super, he's got a lot of swagger. All the characters sound British. Musashi sounds fucking British as fuck, which is refreshing. Like, even the English voice acting for this game sounds really good, really what I liked in the trailer. And, like, how cool this dialogue is like, he's fighting this big boar monster, this big, like, pig monster demon thing, and he's like, let me eat you, I'm hungry, in this very British freaking accent. And freaking Musashi comes back at him while he's slashing away. He's like, lick your bum, piggy. And I'm just like, yes, the tone of this game, the camp is so good. It's like, this is some pulpy ass shit. It's not taking itself too seriously. This is not like an historically accurate samurai game or anything. It's not trying to be like a super serious samurai game. Like, again, I love Ghost of Tsushima, but, like, you know, that's like a samurai simulator. It's the point where, like, you know, you're slicing bamboo as a mini game, or you're sitting on a rock and conducting a haiku, and it's just like, yeah, that's nice. Like, I enjoyed that game and all, don't get me wrong, but, like, you know, I like this better. I'm not gonna deny it. Give me this shit. Like, give me a trash-talking samurai with a British accent. Why not? Why not? It's just great. It's so good. I freaking love what I saw of this trailer. And It's interesting too because this looks like, according to the developers, this looks like it's going to be a very kind of Devil May Cry-like action game where it is linear levels that, you might have like some side missions or off the beaten track collectibles or whatever, I'm sure, but like the areas are going to be mostly action focused. It's mostly going to be about the combat, common enemies, bosses, all that, cool cutscenes, and it's interesting because you go back to the first 4 Onimusha games, and I've only played the first 3. I never got around to 4. But those earlier Onimusha games, which they've been re-releasing lately, I know they re-released 2 just recently, they were, if anything, in structure and level design, they were more like Resident Evil, which is kind of interesting. They had backtracking, they had puzzles to solve, and like confined areas. The first Onimusha game is actually set in a mansion, a Japanese mansion, like a fortress, and it's laid out kind of similar to like a Resident Evil style game where, yeah, you're solving puzzles, you're finding keys and stuff like that. It's a much lighter version of it than something like Resident Evil. It's definitely not as many puzzles, or you don't have like item management or anything like that. It's still mostly an action game where the focus was on the combat, but you had a little bit of like Resident Evil exploration. Just a tiny bit, just a sliver of it, but it was there. And I never played Onimusha 4, but I feel like even by the time you get to 3, I think they were starting to do away with that, and it was becoming more linear, more action-focused, and doing away with having as many puzzles and having as much exploration stuff and backtracking. And I think by the time they got to 4, if I remember correctly, I think that game was said to be more just plain action-driven, which is not necessarily a bad thing to me because, yeah, I mean, that's definitely the appeal of the Onimusha games. That other stuff was never as heavy as the Resident Evil series, so, like, if anything, it was more of a holdover from those games because that's what Capcom had kind of been doing well at that point, and I think they just, because it was successful in Resident Evil, they wanted to carry a little bit of that over to Onimusha. I think back in the day, GameSpot, in a review they did for Onimusha 1, they even went so far as to, one of the reviewers was like, this is a good Resident Evil game for people who don't like Resident Evil. Because the puzzles, it had puzzles, but they were simple. It had backtracking, but the backtracking wasn't anywhere near as, heavy as the Resident Evil games. So it had the same kind of structure as those games, but they were still much, easier to get through as long as you could handle the action and the bosses, which also was relatively simple. And it definitely looks like with Onimusha Way of the Sword, or Onimusha 5, whatever you want to call it, that they're definitely leaning more into the action, it looks like. I don't know if we're going to have, puzzles of any kind, or I guess it would be kind of neat if they still had some kind of light puzzle solving or something. Maybe on the level of, RE4, where it's just the occasional thing. But honestly, from what I've seen of the trailers, this game definitely doesn't need that. It doesn't need a lot of extra gameplay shit because the action looks really fucking good, and it could probably get by on that alone, I'm sure. Much the same way Devil May Cry games do. So I'm pretty excited for this game, to say the least. I mean, never mind the fact that Resident Evil 9 and an entirely new Capcom IP, Pragmata, which also looks great, all of these games are coming out next year. All 3 of these new games. I feel bad for any game company that has to compete with Capcom next year, because good lord, they can't be stopped. They can't be stopped. Capcom cannot fucking be stopped, man. They have a winning freaking strategy lately. But yeah, what do you guys think about Onimusha Way of the Sword? Have you played any of the previous games? I know there's probably a lot of people who never have. It's been 20 years since the last one came out. So what are your thoughts on this game? Do you like that it's going to be, an anti-Souls-like? Do you wish it was more like a Souls-like? Are you not burnt out on Souls-likes like I am? And if you have played previous Onimusha games, what's your favorite? What's your history with it? Let me know. Let me find out. I know I was a big fan of Onimusha 3 because it had weird time travel shit, and you went to Paris, and Jean Reno was the main character. It was freaking weird. That was a good one. Onimusha 3 was weird. But I love the series, and I can't wait for this game to come out. So, until next time, guys, you get to burning and live for the passion.